Welcome to our presentation of the annual report 2018. As you hear, we are speaking English. We are recording this presentation for later retrieval. So also other members of the financial community have insight to this presentation. So I'm here with my colleague and CFO, Roland Jude. Also, we have in the room our chairman and our former chairman. So we are here to give you good insight in how it was the fiscal year 2018, and we make this presentation with the usual disclaimer about forward-looking statements. We will talk first quickly what is our vision as u-blox. We will then go into some overview, and then Roland will give you the details to the numbers, and at the end I will talk about current business and outlook. And of course, we give you time for questions. So, what is our vision? We are the company to make the Internet of Things happening. We are making wireless communication technology. We are transporting data through the air. And also, we can tell where is information coming from and also at what point of time this has happened. And this is what we do for all the time. We are a company, this is the heart, and we have the know-how and the IP, the intellectual property, to make wireless technology, a radio, and a specific microprocessor. This is what is inside in our products. And what we are achieving, we like to show you in a short video. So, what drives us? Here, we are driven by megatrends. The megatrends of mobility, of the Industry 4.0, as it's called in Europe, the urbanization, and new health. And these megatrends are a selection of megatrends. There are for sure more around us, but they are really shaping our industry, shaping the marketplaces where we are, and they are important because mobility is expanding. We are expecting that cars become connected. We know that more and more people are being mobile, and of course it needs an infrastructure that must be expanded for all this mobility. In the industry, there is big move to have all pieces of automation connected, not as a standalone, but as a connected to the cloud solution. And of course, all the control loops are changing here to a much more enhanced solution that allows for better efficiency and shorter loops in the overall creation of products. And in urbanization, we all know more and more people are living in towns, in very large towns, not in this country, but in many others. And of course, all these people want to have a better environment, want to be well served, and want to have a reliable infrastructure that supports their life. And for that, a lot more is undertaken to make here, via data connectivity, better use of the infrastructure and deliver better service. And finally, we as people also have aspiration for increased health, for good support, and also to look better after ourselves, again, with sensors and wireless technology. This is what people like to engage and why markets are growing. And from these mega trends, we develop and have defined themes, what we call the connected vehicle, the connected industry, the connected city, and the connected consumer. Of course, connection is at our hearts, or connectivity is at our hearts, and we are making sure our strategy is following these themes, and we make products fitting to these requirements that are around these themes. This is also what drives us forward and where we see a strong outlook for a growing business. Now, in 2018, we have seen a more difficult environment, as we all know, but we believe the financial performance really reflects that we have a resilient business model also under a condition where the growth was not so extended as we normally see and have seen in the past. We still can maintain good financial stability and performance. So the market remains favorable. 2018, from our point of view, was a year where exceptional things happened. In EMEA, we have continued expansion. In 2018, we saw strong growth with 21%. In Americas, we had some decline with 6% because markets were not ready, and especially network markets were not ready to make the migration for LTE-based connectivity, mainly to category M. And in APAC, we had special conditions, mainly in China, where government influence and trade tensions hampered our business. But for this year, we expect good growth in all the regions. And this is also based on many important product launches we have made. We will show them later in a summary. They are, of course, fueling our growth path and are important to reach new markets. And also, we maintained our R&D pipeline. We have not taken back any expenses here because we want to pull through. Our projects are long-term, and we want to make sure we can continuously launch new products. So, from the financial perspective, the revenue decreased slightly by 2.6%. The gross profit is down by 3.7%. The difference is mainly because of product mix impact. The R&D efforts remained, as I said, and we achieved finally the profitability levels as guided with about 72 million EBITDA and 48 million EBIT. The cash flow wise, if you would assume the business was stable, has not been growing, then also our net working capital requirements would be stable. Under such an assumption, we would have made a positive free cash flow. However, we had to spend a lot of cash into working capital indeed, but again for specific external conditions, because the supply chain was very difficult to manage. There was tight availability of components, and the only countermeasure was to ramp up the inventories to assure continued supply for our customers and to realize our business. On the product side, as mentioned, we have launched important products, 9 in total. They are, of course, important for the future. They have not yet contributed in 2018. And with that, we also have expanded our business opportunity pipeline for additional and new business with existing, but also with new customers. Our number of customers has increased as well. So in the overview, here you have all the numbers. We always give adjusted and IFRS numbers because our peers do also both, and mostly adjusted numbers, so that you have all these data available. And as you see, the gross profit and revenue came down by a few percentage points. The EBITDA is still at the level of about 21% for the adjusted indication, and EBIT is 15%. For cash flow, we have 36 million from operations. That brought our cash level to 136. So here we have the decrease visible because of the requirements of the net working capital, mainly for inventory. So this is the short overview, and now I hand over to Roland to tell you the details.
Thank you, Thomas. Good morning also from my side. So first of all, have a short look into the details about revenue. As already mentioned, it came down to 393.3 million Swiss francs in 2018, 2.6% lower than in 2017. The currency impact was minor this year. In the revenues at 2017 rates, you have a plus of 0.2%. On the other hand, if you take the guidance rate, we are 0.2% lower than predicted. The EBITDA is 81.2 million adjusted EBITDA. The adjustments are mainly share-based payment, which we took out the impact of the IAS 19, the pension is taken out, and amortization of intangible assets acquired. These are amortizations from intangibles from M&A, which are also taken out of the P&L and leads then to these adjusted numbers. If you have a look into the market, the consumer market was soft. It brought 10.2% of our revenues. Automotive market was stable with 29.2% of revenues, and also the industrial market was expanding, but the share of overall remains stable with 57.2%. Looking into geographies, as already mentioned, EMEA has a strong growth with its expanding customer base and a high interest in industrial IoT. It's 20.5% growth compared to 2017. The impact of the network readiness in Americas was minus 6.3%, and Asia Pacific, where we have the biggest impact and we have the influence of market regulations. The share bike business is here the keyword, and the trade war between China and America, who impacted here our revenues. It was down of 13.3%, but overall the split remained similar, so we are still present in all three areas at a similar level. Now let's have a look into volumes. We had a decline in modules and chipsets due to these negative impacts in China, but we still sold over 30 million modules overall and over 58 million GNSS chips in 2018. We had a strong growth with u-blox 8 and M8, and on the last graph on the right hand side you see also the revenue split, and if you look close to it you can see that 75% of our revenue is coming from modules. This split has not changed over the past 5 years, so 3/4 of our revenues are derived from module, and module and chip prices overall has increased. The adjusted gross profit is 177.9 million. This is 45.2% of revenue. The margin slightly declined due to the changes in product mix. Cellular takes a higher share of revenues, and cellular has the highest ASP but the lowest gross margin of all technologies, and therefore you see also the impact on the gross margin. All this is based on a strong and stable customer base. We were serving over 6,900 customers worldwide. We were able to increase the customer base again, so our customer dependency further reduced. We have made 80% of our revenues with 104 customers compared to 84 in 2017, a further increase, and also the largest customer accounts for less than 3.7% of our revenues. A year before, this was still 5% of revenues. Having a look into our costs, so OPEX rates increased due to the base effect. First of all, in distribution market expenses, adjusted were stable compared to 2017 with 34.8 million. This is then 8.8% of our revenues. The R&D expenses were increased because our effort is adjusted to a long-term horizon and not short-term. So that effort, we hope to increase our to grow our gross margin. We spent for R&D 67.8 million Swiss francs. This is 17.2% of revenues. Our employee base grew as well. We are now over 1,000 FTEs, 1,020, end of the year 2018. The major part, 68%, is engaged in research and development. Sales and marketing, we have 171 FTEs, and in logistics are 15% of our employees engaged. The average number of FTEs grew as well from 893 to 993. These employees are to 75% based outside Switzerland. We spread over our 18 locations all over the world. On the income statement here you have on the left-hand column the IFRS figures, and then the adjustments we made. 8.4 million are adjustments for share-based payments. The pension impact in the adjustment is 1.2 million, and the amortization of intangible assets acquired is 2.5 million. It leads then to the numbers, to the adjusted numbers. So for an EBIT of 60.4 million Swiss francs with an EBITDA of 81.2 million. The EBITDA margin 20.7%, and the EBIT margin was 15.4%. In the financial results, they consist mainly of unrealized foreign exchange gains and the interest of the two bonds. And on the third line in financials, you can see also the impact of our joint venture Subcorda, which is 3.4 million. That's the share u-blox carries of the loss of this joint venture. Net profit margin was 12.2% in 2018. Our two segments, positioning and wireless products, the bigger segment with 393 million revenues and 47.9 million operating EBIT. These numbers are not adjusted. These numbers are IFRS numbers if you compare them to the one ahead. Also, our wireless services business was profitable with 415 operating EBIT. Now, let's have a short look also to the balance sheet. u-blox still has a strong financial position. We have liquidity of 137.7 million. In December 2017, it was 172.4 million. The inventory increase due to ensure our delivery reliability and tight supply situation increased from 44 million to 48 million Swiss francs. Trade receivables increased as well to 60.8 million Swiss francs. This is mainly due to the acceleration of the business by end of the year, especially in December of 2018. Then if you look at the intangible assets, they are due to the capitalization of R&D expenses. Capitalized R&D in our balance sheets are 174.6 million Swiss francs. In the non-current liabilities, you find the main position. These are our two bonds with a nominal value of 120 million. In the books, there are 119.2 million Swiss francs. So u-blox remains its strong equity base. We have 349 million Swiss francs equity. This is 63.1% of total assets. The share capital increase is due to the exercise of options in 2018, and we further bought some treasury shares for these option programs. Treasury shares in the equity are now 32 million Swiss francs. If we would have taken out these treasury shares of equity ratio would have been 65.1% of total assets. And last but not least, the cash flow statement with net cash generated from operating activities of 36.3 million or 9.2% of revenues. This is, as Thomas already mentioned, highly impacted by net working capital increase of 32.2 million. This, as I showed before in the balance sheet, to ensure delivery reliability, and also the increase of the accounts receivable has here a certain impact. The R&D investments were maintained, so we spent, you see the investment into intangibles, mainly 54 million for intangibles, mainly capitalized R&D, which is come out here. This leads to a free cash flow before acquisition of minus 22.9 million. If we now take the 32 net working capital change out of that, we end up with the 5 million plus free cash flow. Then also we have further invested into the joint ventures of Corda. The investment in 2018 was 4.1 million, is according to plan in the joint venture agreement. So that's all about figures, so I hand over again to Thomas for the business update.
Thank you, Roland. I continue with the business update, and first of all, I like to highlight what we have launched as products in the year 2018. Of course, all these products look very similar to you, so I try to explain why we have made them and what we achieve in the markets. Under cellular communication, you see modules for what is called the category M. This is the new wireless standard, mainly for machine-to-machine type communication. And we are the first company, mainly in the Americas market, in the US, to offer such products. And this is also why we have seen so many problems. We were early, but also that means we were confronted with networks that were early and not ready. So the situation is now so that these products start to create the business, and the industry is changing over from other solutions now to this category M, which has many advantages, especially it is the right type of communication channel, and it delivers that at an interesting cost. And the last one, what is called N3, the SARA N3, this is the lowest range of data transmission. This is what is called NB, and either NB1 or NB2. We are already in the next level. This is made for solutions where you infrequently transmit data and where you want to run it from batteries over a long time, many years. And the most typical application are meters, where you also go deep into a house often, and you need still to have a signal to transmit the data. So these are essential advancements where we see the industry strongly picking up. We have many business opportunities that are using these type of technologies. First of all, in the Americas for category M, but more and more also in Europe and in Asia. On the side of short-range communication, our major launch was our chipset for car-to-car communication, what is called V2X. This is an upcoming solution in the car because the car industry has an interest to improve safety, to reduce the severity of accidents, and to know what does the other cars around you and what does the infrastructure impact here is essential for making car driving safer. The experiences on test drives are very promising that precisely because you have a warning, the rate of accidents can be strongly reduced. And forward-looking, this becomes, in many instances, in the sense of markets, a requirement that such a piece of electronic is added to the overall capability of the car. Then we were also active in bringing out more modules for Wi-Fi and Bluetooth with ANA B1. This is a Bluetooth module for the latest standard, and it's a very, very tiny module that is, of course, very nicely and appropriate for wearable electronics and for anything that must have a small space. And with the NINA W15, this is a multi-radio and gateway product. This is a combination between Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. And why is this interesting and important? Because often you need to sort of transfer from Bluetooth to Wi-Fi, because Bluetooth has a short range, has also relatively limited capacity, and the Wi-Fi connection is broadband and far-reaching. So somewhere you need to hand over signals from one standard to the other, and this is precisely what this little module can do. And of course, because it is so small and so compact, this is interesting and can often go into a product that does then that as an additional functionality. On the positioning side, another important launch with our F9 platform. This is our next generation of GNSS receivers. So we follow here to keep updated on a regular path. And this time we also have added high precision to this platform. So we are expanding to an additional rail of product offering. And high precision is very helpful in anything that is automation, is anything in where you want to measure and not just to have an indication. So we see many customers that really like the new opportunity that they have, a centimeter precise position if required, and are creating new solutions that were inconceivable before. It is also a very important element to autonomous driving. Without knowing precisely where you are, you cannot dream of such a car. And we have then translated this chip into two modules. The one is for the high precision. This is this F9P. And the other is for timing. Again, here also higher requirements are visible in the market for better timing and higher precision. Why? Because the networks need to be more capable and powerful and need to have more capacity. I will show that in a minute. So let's first talk about what are we doing for autonomous driving. We are delivering key components, and we are still putting a lot of R&D effort into this theme. It is not finished, not at all, and still a way to go, but also a market continually expanding. So we need mainly two core elements for an autonomous driven car. It needs the high precision positioning, and it needs car-to-car communication to know what is around the automated car. And here we have done important work and also built cooperation, mainly with Bosch. That is one of the key tier 1 suppliers to the car industry. We are developing together the high precision and lane accurate solution, also in a form that is what we call functional safe. You need to be sure that your position information is reliable all the time, and you need to get a warning if this is not the case. And this is, insofar, a very specific solution. It is a lot more encompassing and complex than a standard GNSS receiver. And we launched the P3, as already mentioned. This is a best-in-class solution to realize the communication between car and infrastructure. It has 2 channels. It has a very wide temperature range because we operate in a car that has temperatures in certain places up to 105 degrees, and it is low power. So all that makes it a very much preferred solution, and of course an ingredient that this communication functionality is finally included in the car. But also elsewhere, we make our technology useful, and here is a very special example of a mower, of a robotic mower that can autonomously run on a lawn and cut the grass. So our customer is Husqvarna, the leader in this market, and they use cellular connectivity and multi-constellation positioning, meaning that they have extremely, also here, reliable information about where is the robot, and of course, via connectivity, they want to make it controlled and operated in a remote manner. And this is a typical example that such solutions become feasible because technology makes it available. It is the positioning information technology, and it is the connectivity. That's it, precisely. I mean, we make complex technology, but finally we must refine it in a way that it's really easy for the customer to work with, and it's all our interest to bring products quickly to market. And again, it is our modules that help here to make the quick step. A module is a preconceived subassembly of many components that can quickly be integrated. You basically connect power and antenna, and the functionality is available. Now, in another market, telecoms, we also see expansion for growing markets. Why? Because 5G is at the doorstep. And here we deliver the essential timing reference to make such systems happening. The networks are still expanding per se, mainly for what we use every day, what is called LTE and 4G. Why is expansion? Because everybody transmits more and more data, mainly for videos. But now with 5G, there is also the event that more cells are necessary, not only because of growing capacity, but also because 5G uses higher frequencies that have a shorter reach, and that means you need more cells. And finally, we are talking of denser networks, and this is the reason why we need better timing. You need to better coordinate all these cells, and also when you want to have more throughput, you also need higher precisions, otherwise you have too many errors in the data transmission, and this is hampering the throughput. So this is all what is driving here the market, and why we have launched on the F9 platform a specific timing receiver that is based on, again, multi-constellation. This means as many satellites as possible from all the global satellites. And it works not only with one frequency, but with 2 frequencies that such satellites do emit. So we see here a strong driving growth to the future. As we said, the capacity expansion is, of course, ongoing and without ends. Now, what are we achieving with our core technology? Here, the example of our chipset that has been announced a time ago for cellular connectivity. It is a category 1 solution, so this is a step up from category M. It has higher transmission capabilities, and it is an important standard mainly when mobile devices have quite some data content, some videos or some pictures. Then you need such a capacity to transport the data. But we have made it for the industrial use. And our core technology is essential to deliver specific value to this industry, a value that otherwise is not achievable if you would make it from the components that you find in a smartphone. So our knowledge that we apply here is in the left-hand box. So we have all the knowledge to make what is called the RF transceiver, the radio transceiver that can transmit and receive signals. We make the baseband modem. This is the signal processor that does handle all the signals in and out. Then in the chip is also a GNSS receiver to know where we are. We have a processor landscape to make that a system. And also, that is often not visible, is the power management. You must manage the power consumption of this chip, and especially you must manage it in a way that you have low power, finally, what the customer sees on the battery. And all that together makes it a strong solution for what we then can offer for an industrial Internet of Things solution. So it is made to last a very long time in the network, and of course as a product shall never fail. It delivers not only the data transmission, but also the positioning and timing. This is also a piece of timing. Why is this important? Because when you transmit information, you want to know when did it happen and where, and this must be reliable. And finally, it is made for all the requirements you have when you do an industrial piece of equipment. So we see here a strong way forward. Category 1 is an important standard worldwide. It is widely available. It is relatively well covered by the network operators with few frequencies only, so you can make it a simple product, a global product, and therefore this is for a range of applications the correct solution, and we are still in the beginning of making that happening. Behind all what we do here, we have our strategy that must and does deliver. We do that with an attitude for market position. We do that for technology innovation. It is operational excellence. And finally, together with strategic partnership, we achieve what is our market position and the way forward. So, first of all, we have a very strong position in the market because we have a well defined range of products that fit together to solutions that are essential to our customers, that are responding the basic needs of the markets we are serving. And we have an excellent reputation to deliver high quality and reliability products. Customers can rely on us now when they make the product and during the lifetime of the product. We have a long-term roadmap. We fuel that constantly with our innovation efforts, and we do expand products and more also the service side of our products. And also because we do our integrated circuits on our own, we have great control over the future. The operational excellence is essential for how we then finally treat our customers over the lifetime, how well we ship on time, and how they can rely on us also over the long term, but also short term in the sense of we are quickly delivering with short lead times. And of course, we are expanding not only by organic growth and our spirits that we apply, but we also transport that into partnerships and seek cooperation where it makes sense. Last year, it was mainly Sapcorda for the correction services, for data services we offer to the market, and Fuchs-Ludelski for security services. And security will become a major theme when so many devices are connected. Of course, the users want to be sure data connectivity is secured and protected. All in all, we are working on our priorities with regard to expanding our strategy. So we have taken lots of effort to build our position in the market for autonomous driving. We have built partnerships, and we see great interest overall in the market on a global scale. And our offer with high precision positioning has expanded markets. We see so many great new applications. And of course, that is not only fueling the pure positioning. As said, we are delivering solutions to customers. They need also connectivity for what they make. We capitalize on the advent of LTE expansion. Everybody talks of 5G. 5G means a continual evolution of the standard to more capability, that with cellular wireless connectivity you can serve more applications. Here also the fact that new and applications become feasible because technology allows it. For example, that you can run a cellular connectivity 10 years from a battery that was inconceivable 2 or 3 years ago. And similar with short-range radio, Wi-Fi and Bluetooth also undergo strong evolution. Here also new capabilities are coming up. For example, that you can mesh the connectivity to networks is of course a big advancement. It helps to use these technologies for many more solutions that, again, were not conceivable a short time ago. This all means we are pushing for constant innovation, are relentless here, are not looking short-term but long-term, and mainly focus to make our own silicon, our own core of technology, and all what we do here finally are important ingredients. We call that IP blocks, so elements of knowledge that we constantly reapply and use that also to make us more efficient on the R&D side. That, of course, shall help to continually launch new products and make the overall functionality more rich. Especially this time we work on adding security and combining all our products to complete solutions. The operational excellence remains, of course, a constant theme. Here we focus on the applications and the requirements that customers have, mainly from the industrial Internet of Things. All is about long-term, all is about reliability and dependability. So we do make sure we reply with our own systems to such requirements, and we can build very strong relationship with customers over a long time. And that means also working strongly with our suppliers, that they are linked to that aim and attitude to make sure we have a reliability also from that side. And as we have seen last year, that was challenging. Not all suppliers were so helpful and have put their deliveries under allocation, which we only were able to solve thanks to our financial power. Meaning we have extended our inventories to alleviate this problem. And last but not least, we continue to look into partnerships and acquisition opportunities. We have not done any major step for acquisitions, as you know. The reason was that prices were much too high and not aligned with future cash flows. We hope that with price corrections end of last year, this landscape looks now more promising. And of course, acquisitions remain an accelerator for our company. So I like to again tell you why we feel we are strongly competitive and how we make efficient use of our resources. I think a core ingredient to our company is that we are still like a spin-off from the ETH, and we have well maintained our innovation spirit. This is driving us forward, and we do work on our ideas with high dedications. Also to be competitive, and we have of course several competitors around us, also some very large corporations. The recipe to keep our competitiveness is that we are lean and agile. We keep minimum infrastructures, and we are making them quickly moving and reactive to markets. Also, we are focusing a little different to the markets, not where the large competitors are with their large customers. We have a very broad range of customers below that or aside that. We have mentioned that we have 6,900 customers. This is the territory where we are active and where we are the specialists to cover so many different customers. And insofar have then made sure we have important market shares in the defined areas of application, and here we want to remain the undisputed leader. Finally, with all we do, we are uncomparable. The lineup that we do, chips and modules, that we do 3 types of wireless technologies, such a company cannot be found on the globe anymore, or anywhere else. So we drive growth from our strategic setup. via innovation, via making new solutions capable. I have presented you a few insights where new solutions become feasible because innovation was at work. We have extended application possibilities also because the environment is helping us here, mainly with extended standards for 5G, for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, and with new satellite signals that are continually evolving. And finally, the cloud is also here a driver. It helps to add services to our products. It's not just a sell of a component at one point of time, but it makes it a possibility for recurring revenue. We do deliver data services for many, many years, probably more than 10 years already. However, that was free of charge in the time born when the cloud was not that visible and dominant. Today, the cloud, of course, enables services, and the whole industry is thinking in services, and therefore we have here a nice potential. So that shall make us to continually grow and to participate in the market expansion that is around us, driven by all the major drive forces, which are mobility and the cloud services. Together with our product initiatives, we are following the megatrends. This is what is the guideline and the insight for our strategy. We start from there and go down into the defined applications to make sure these products fit the long-term trend. And of course, we do that not isolated, but we do that with leading customers. We have very good networks and connections to make sure what we invent also has a basis and an interest from our customers. And this shall assure a stability in growth, not only because it is a one customer, but also it finally serves a diversified customer base from type of application by the geography. And of top, we do value-adding services. We can here get more out of the hands of customers, and all that is, of course, driven in an industry that lives from economies of scale. With scaling up, we can improve economics. So I come to the outlook. Nothing changed to the guidance we have given in November, as you have probably already seen. We have good outlook for 2019 because all the three regions deliver growth for various reasons. This is important. It's a diversified reason for growth. In Asia, many different applications, mainly in automotive, telematics, and infrastructure. And of course, China is the major driver here. We have seen already improvement in the second half year of 2018, and we also are optimistic for 2019. We have many good business opportunities visible. In EMEA, we expand continually in telematics and infrastructure, again, mainly an industrial Internet of Things market, and expanding because Industry 4.0 is important, but also, of course, the automotive market is important in Europe. Mainly it's the lead market, more on the longer term, driving us forward. And in the Americas, it is the advent of the category M1 that is now making us to grow because the industry is changing over to this standard again, because networks availability is now guaranteed. And to the guidance belongs also that amortizations are increasing over 2018. This is why the difference between EBITDA and EBIT is increasing. And also we remain and retain our long-term outlook until 2022. We want to make strong growth upwards and keep strong profitability, free cash flow, and the profitability numbers. This is what we aim for. We want to give such a vision, and to us ourselves, and of course to you as representatives of shareholders. This is to give you an idea for what are we working and investing today, because precisely what we do today is only making it possible that in the longer term we can make it to such numbers. Finally, I remain with a few information. Our general annual meeting will be held on April 25. The half-year results are available by August 23. And again, we will have an Investor and Analyst Day on November 20 to then update you on more what is our product strategy and the markets. And with that, I complete my presentation and I invite you for questions. I would like to ask you to wait for the microphone so we can record respectively, everybody can hear well. Mr. Remmers.
Yes, hi, two questions from my side. One on the LoRa Cat 1 module with your own chip inside. Is it now officially been launched and will it be generate revenues this year? That would be question one. And maybe on that topic, one question: in which applications do you sell really that module? And the second one is on cash flow. Can you give us a bit of an outlook what you expect in terms of capex into intangibles, meaning the capitalized R&D for this year?
Yes, thank you. So first question about our Category 1 product. It was launched quite a time ago, and perhaps you have forgotten. So this is not a new product insofar. And the question is, what does it deliver? It delivers a solution to those applications where you need a good data rate to transport data. So as soon as it's not just a short text, but it is quite extended data going into video, of course, this is the solution. So just to give you the example, you can run your PC with a Cat 1 solution on the network and you have decent capability to do everything. You can watch your videos, you can go to all the websites, you can do email. So it's this level of capability. And when we have applications that are at these expectations, then Category 1 is the right solution. And this is what we offer to many industries, for example, for terminals that are used in industrial or transportation. This is a typical application where Category 1 is used. And now to the question about CapEx. Roland, that's for you. What is the future here?
So regarding CapEx, the CapEx level mainly is driven through our R&D efforts. So you could expect that these remain at a similar level. We have it already in 2018. We will not have a tremendous increase of our R&D force. So also the level does increase slightly, but not significant.
Mr. Müller.
I have two questions. One is the prognosis for the EBIT margin, which will be apparently below 10%. What's the reason why the margin is so low in this year, 2019? And last year, the average selling price of the module and chips have increased. Is that something which was very unusual, which we don't have to expect? Because I remember normally it's constantly lower average selling prices of your products.
Good. I take your last question first about price development. I mean, the prices you see in our graphs are, of course, the total, what is called the ASP, the average selling price, and this is composed of many products we are selling. That the price is increasing is a good effect by the mix. We have sold higher priced products than the year before. This has to do with products mainly on the module side towards cellular, where these products have a higher price than anything else. So that will, of course, increase the average price. On the chip side, this has to do with the changed demand, mainly in China. As you know, we have lost the business for the shared bicycles. That was a high volume business at relatively low prices, and now this is the positive side of losing something. The average price has increased. Then the other question is more financial about the lower EBIT.
Yeah, the lower EBIT is, as Thomas already mentioned, mainly due to amortization of capitalized R&D. So this is increasing in 2019 because we bring or reach IP level for our first cellular chipset as such, and this starts amortization. And for this amortization piece, nothing falls out because it comes to the end. There's amortized another chipset because the first one, and therefore you see an increase in amortization, and this is mainly the difference increase between EBITDA and EBIT is mainly driven by amortization, and therefore you have a lower EBIT. You will see a similar effect also in the next year later, so 2020, because if you start amortizing during a year, you have then in the following year again a jump up because then you have the full year amortization in the books. Because IFRS only allows you to do a linear amortization and not a degressive amortization. Therefore, you have this effect not going along with growing revenues.
And IP means here not intellectual property, but initial production.
Initial production, yes. Thanks.
Mr. Müller, please.
Andreas Müller, ZKB. I've got a question. Can you talk a bit what was happening between the analyst day and the end of the year? Which business fell apart? Which kind of products were particularly impacted? And how did the year start? Did you get back some of these businesses? That's the first question. And then in the second, implied in the guidance is also pretty good growth between, I think, 17 to 25% on the revenue side. And can you share with us what part is driven by these new products and what's driven by the rest? What's the outlook for the rest, for example, the underlying growth? And then, of course, which share is from new products? And the last question, can you talk also a bit about the competitive environment, given that markets fell apart at least until the end of the year? Have you seen some kind of, price pressure from some of competitors just throwing out products onto the market?
Okay, these are three questions. So the first one about end of year business. We gave a guidance in November, relatively short before the end of the year. What is always difficult to estimate is how acceptable are customers for deliveries. Also, the customers do optimize balance sheets and numbers. And this time it was relatively difficult. Everybody was more pessimistic probably. So we were not able to make all the shipments that we have intended when we made our guidance. But this is temporary. As I said, it was window dressing on the side of customers. Now, the business growth is, of course, shown in our guidance. We are optimistic and see good continuation. And the reasons are mainly that in the Americas, we have no longer this network problem, that we can ship the category M products. And we have very good feedback from customers that they make the transition. This is really the plan to do that, mainly for cost reasons. It's lower cost than what they utilize today. In Europe, it's still a good climate in the industry, where we are strong and have also developed new businesses and especially new customers that they enter the space of the connectivity. We have many that we have to help and educate to make first time such products. And in Asia, as I already said, it's China. That is the biggest market, and we have good turnaround. We have also seen already good events. It is public that China Unicom, this is the smaller of the three telecom operators. They have placed an order for more than 400,000 new base stations, still 4G. And of course, this is excellent news for our business. This is fueling the growth. Have I answered all this what I said, or?
Yes. And the question between new products and
yeah.
underlying.
Of course, yeah, sure. I mean, new products are fueling growth, as I have already explained. But what we realized in 2019 is, of course, new products that probably we have launched in 2017 already, and some are 2018. The high precision, for example, is quite quickly going to market and into production. This is a nice observation we make. But without constant new products, we wouldn't see also continual growth.
Philippe Rajefi, regarding the value-adding services, do you see also one important growth, solid growth in the next couple of years?
Yes, absolutely. We think this is important, first of all, that customers do get such services, because otherwise they can, for example, not make their connectivity secure. And therefore, we have good reasons to believe that. Also, it's not only an element of today, it is something that customers want assurance it will be maintained over the lifetime of the product. This means on a horizon from 5 to 10 years. And therefore, we have, of course, good outlook. This is really something that we can maintain over a long time. This is really a recurring thing. This is what we aim for. And finally, security has many aspects. It's not just that you are sure that you have trust in something. It is also that you can maintain it technically. We have a service that is called firmware update over the air that allows customers to add on new pieces of software to the product and do maintenance. And this is essential not only for the product we make, for the connectivity part, but also for the application that is running on the product. And this is, of course, when you have products that have a long lifetime, very important that you can make updates and correct or improve the product. Herr Schulz.
I have two questions. The one, in your presentation, you said that the weakness in APAC was related to regulation influencing some consumer applications in China. Can you be a bit more specific there? What exactly that was and why it changed again? And maybe.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, the most visible effect was that the sharing bicycle market was regulated, and the companies could no longer just put many new bicycles on the road, and that has basically made that the whole market collapsed. So this is what had a big influence, because it was a really a sizable market for us. But of course, regulation works both ways. I mean, this was a negative one, but we see also many other regulatory impact that is expanding market. For example, again, in China, to make here the example, there's a lot of regulation about mobility solutions that must have trackers, that must have geofencing. This means restrict the use space of such products. And that, of course, is fueling our markets and helping us to grow. So it's always two sides on the medal.
The second question to mobility or the connected cars. You say that, or this intelligence says that in the next 5 years, about 250 million cars will be connected. That's about every second car that is produced, I guess. Can you maybe make an example what the content would be from your side per car today or over the next 5 years, and what market share you expect from that, or how this is basically influencing u-blox?
Yeah. Okay, I can perhaps not give you every number you like to hear, but clearly the car industry wants to have better comfort in the car. This is one aspect. The other is again maintenance of software in the car. This is why there is a modem, especially when you have a little richer environment around you when you drive. And therefore you find such numbers by market studies. And again, these can be quite different solutions, from relatively low bandwidth to very high bandwidth. So there are a number of requirements in the request for quotations that we see. So it could be a solution that is only $10, but there are also solutions that are above $100 for such connectivity to the car. And this makes it, of course, a little difficult also to describe what then finally market sizes are. It's still not so visible what we call the dominant designs, to what extent these different categories of connectivity are then really in the fleet.
And your market share?
There I don't give you a number.
The ballpark also?
Yeah, okay. I mean, we want to have two digits numbers.
Regarding the joint venture, what kind of contribution are you expecting for this year? And do you also have a break-even target for this joint venture?
Yeah, you probably talk Subcorda. This is, of course, a startup undertaking. We are this year expecting the trial phase, that the system becomes operational and customers can use the data service. And of course, it will take probably another 1 to 2 years to see income and turn that around to cash flow positive.
It's a similar contribution than 2019, like 18, you would say then?
It's probably still negative, yeah. Yes.
Okay. And regarding...
Just one sentence.
Sorry.
Contribution. It's only recorded in financial income and expense. So no EBIT impact, no EBITDA impact, or even gross margin impact, nothing. So Subcorda is just as a joint venture at equity accounted, and therefore only in the financial numbers.
And regarding growth, are there any large customer projects in the pipeline that you expect to have above 5% customer this year?
This is not the intention. I mean, insofar we are glad that, again, we have increased the number of customers that make 80%, or that the largest customer has a lower percentage. We want to remain diversified. This is really how we attach to as many markets as possible. Why is this important? You never know what market is making a nice step upwards. And also it helps us for general stability. And here the reason is our technology developments are long-term. We need to have a diversification to make that viable. If you are just dependent on one customer, this it makes it very difficult to look forward. We could not go into such a direction. And I think you mentioned a slight increase of R&D capitalization this year. So is this the way going forward? Also in 20, there will be only a limited increase then in capitalization, or? Yeah, I mean, now the question is capitalization, or is it all the expense for R&D? There's probably two answers here. The capitalization is, of course, mainly driven by what is the status of the projects, but we can assume this is every year about the same rate out of the total cash expense we make, so for a model forward. The cash expense of R&D is dependent on the expected gross margins we make. I mean, this is the leading indicator, how much cash we get in. This is also that tells us how much we can expense on the R&D side. This is what we take into consideration in our midterm plan, that we look forward and estimate to what numbers we are making it here. And of course, we keep our track here so that we are realizing a positive free cash flow. This is finally the most important performance indicator. we can make or we can allow as much R&D as we have cash available and under the condition that we are realizing a positive free cash flow.
As the last question, maybe just on China, the current environment. I think it seems that your business right now is not that much impacted by geopolitical issues or tariffs or anything. So you're already seeing growth right now. So you're not dependent on a recovery in China in the coming months, or.
Yeah, I mean, we do not see the China market so negative. It is still a growing economy, strongly growing economy. I mean, 6% growth is large. And whether it's 6 or 8, this is not so much difference for our business. It has a lot to do with what is really happening in the industry. And we all know the preference is on technological development in this country. There's a lot of effort. There is also a different name for that. It's not Industry 4.0, but Made in China 2025. And in this context, there is a lot of support from all angles in this country. And also you have heard at the committee meeting recently that the industry is further supported by lower tax rates, for example, and better credit facilities. So insofar, I mean, China has a good basic support for expansion. And of course, it's a matter of what we do. I mean, we do, of course, the relevant things for the industry. We are an accepted player and much preferred. And despite competition, we do a very good advancement in this country.
But I assume in year-over-year growth rates, you still would expect stronger growth than in the second half, also from a year-over-year comparison than in the first half?
For our company, yes, you must expect that the second half year will be stronger than the first half year. More questions?
I have a question about working capital. Yeah, it expanded quite a bit in 2018. Do you expect that to reverse in 2019, or how do you expect that to develop?
Yes. Simple answer, yes, we expect that this to reverse. Mainly the inventory topic is made for securing delivery reliability due to some constraints on the supply chain. In 2018, this is reversing already, and so also the inventory should, as a ratio, come down again, and with that, working capital is reduced. So in this sense, you have a positive effect in 2019.
And Mr. Poser?
I still have an understanding question concerning the capitalization and then amortization as soon as you start with the selling of the product. If I take your guidance for 2019, and we see the boundaries in the difference between EBITDA and EBIT of 30 to 35 million, or 30 to 45 million, depreciation is always about 10 million. That doesn't really change. Then it leaves the amortization of 30 to 35 million. Why is there a difference? I mean, you should be able to basically say how much you're going to amortize next year, almost at a very precise level. It only depends on the start of the amortization, basically. The mix doesn't really change. So why is there a difference in the guidance?
Yeah, again, you could think that these things are nicely on a plan, but the experience is that we always, I mean, we have a certain risk in development, and we can see delays in when we reach what is called the initial production point. And this is why we also have here a range of numbers that must take that into consideration.
And maybe including the visibility that you have, or the length of the product viability on a technical basis. Is there a shortening of these amortization cycles? It used to be around 4 to 5 years. I mean, we observe that the technological obsolescence kind of increases. Can you allude on that?
Yeah. No, we do not see much change here. Interestingly, what we do is long-term, remains long-term, and it starts with the fact that finally things remain because it's too expensive to change too quickly. So when you say there's category 1 capability or data transmission in the network, then this will remain because this is an investment where everybody wants, of course, to see the return on investment as long as possible. And the second reason is our customers are long-term. The industrial customer maintains products over a very long time, 5 to 10 years. They want to have suppliers that support them in that aspect. And this is why our amortization times are much shorter than the actual lifetime of the product.
So 4 years is still a valuable
yeah, we have not
assumption.
changed the numbers here.
Thank you.
More questions? Hohlfelder noch was?
Let's say based on your scenario and guidance for this year, I think it's a broad range, but nevertheless, could you comment on the gross margin trend? What you would expect, like a 1 pp or more than 1 pp decline, or what's included in the guidance if you take like the midpoint of the scenario?
Yeah, I think the best indication is that you assume the same difference that we have seen between 2017 and 18. And again, the reason is product mix change, a mix that goes more towards cellular products in the value definition.
It was relatively stable, or in 2008?
Yeah, it was 0.6 or 0.7% less. Mr. Sauter?
Yeah, good morning. Thorsten Sauter, Kepler Cheuvreux. I need to come back a little bit on market shares, and I know you were a little bit tight-lipped about it. Your business seems to work super well when you have high market shares in niche applications. However, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I understand that in modules you command a 10% market share, and the LTE Bluetooth chips, they are all new. Now, you have given these 2020 projections. What sort of market share, like, simply put, you need to generate such revenues and returns? I mean, it's probably more than 10% for LTE, and I wonder how you sell LTE chips beyond your own module platform. Who would be kind of buying this, right? I mean, are you restricted to your own kind of revenue base for modules? And besides these, who would be the competitors in the chip space that we need to watch?
Yep, 3 questions. Good. So the last one first, who are the competitors? The competitors are the traditional big semiconductor companies that make wireless solutions. And the names are obvious. This is, of course, primarily Qualcomm, but you also find Intel or MediaTek, and of course many others, especially when we talk Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. There is a bigger number of players than for the positioning and for the cellular. Now, your second question was, where do we sell cellular chipsets? Of course, first of all, we are the own customer. We are selling modules. Why do we sell modules? Because it's very complicated to make such a transceiver out of components. These only few customers are able to do. And also you need to certify your concept, your product, and this is expensive. And therefore, a module is the way to lower the cost for the customer, and almost the entire market is based on modules. Still, we see in certain markets, and again China is here the key word, that we find customers that have the capability to do what is called chip down, that we can sell the chip. And on a selected basis, we are able also to sell the chip directly. Now, market shares. Yes, of course, we want to grow market share. And I cannot give you numbers, but for sure, we do not want to have single digits. We want to have double-digit numbers here, and we aim for expansion organically and also, if possible, inorganically. But that applies to all our products.
In essence, if I may, right, you would probably need more than the forgive me. In essence, if I may, you would probably need to have market shares that are well in excess of the 10% that you command in the module market, right? Just speaking of the LTE chip, for example.
Yes.
So you would have to fetch that market share against relatively intense competition, right?
Of course, as always, but that's not different than before. Any more questions? Is this oh yes, please.
Andreas Haufer, I'm a shareholder. Thanks first for the nice presentation and for the good pipeline. So it's always interesting to see this. I have a question. You know what? When I read the financial statements, what's always a little bit difficult, really, the R&D expenses, and because if you see you have 700 people and you alone capitalize 50 million, so and probably a big part of the R&D personnel is outside. So if I take like 100,000, so there's a lot of your personnel. I mean, you have 50% in R&D goes into the capitalized expenses. And you are okay, fortunate because IFRS you capitalize. Your competitor have to expense this, so it goes into the operational cash flow. Yours is still positive, but only because you capitalize this 50 million, meaning a big part of the R&D personnel goes into the capital cash flow. So how do you make sure this is value, and how do you make sure you track this when you have an end of life in this fast-paced industry, that we don't end up by 150, 200, 250 million in capitalized asset, and then at the end we realize we have big write-off. I mean, I know it's difficult because we have the IFRS convention and accounting, but I think I don't want to end up, because I have seen it several times, companies capitalize, and then after 5 years we have to this big write-down. So this is, maybe you can give a little comfort, and also maybe you use this as maybe for one of your capital market day, a little bit digging deeper into, so that the public has a better understanding how you make sure how you track end-of-life items. And so this is one question. The next question is, I mean, the share price is down, which can be good, can be bad. I realized last year you bought back a lot of shares when the price was quite high. And giving the indication you're very optimistic about the business, why you're not using now the opportunity to buy back share for your extensive option share programs, right? Because I think last year you spent 20 million with a relatively high price. Now it's down by quite a lot. I mean, I think it's a good chance. If you're still optimistic about the business, the question is, are you planning to do share repurchases for your option programs? And then maybe one small question, I think it was mentioned a little bit about your partnerships with Kudelski. If you can elaborate a little bit, is it just a partnership or is it a joint venture? And if you fund this, like with your Bosch joint venture, if you fund this joint venture of a capital increase, and what's happened in this joint venture, are you using the same approach you use in your normal financial statement, that you capitalize these items, or is this all expensed later on? Because I think if you go forward and put a lot of money in this, I think we need to understand what is inside this joint venture. Are this all personal expenses, or are you using even your own personnel moving in this joint venture and capitalizing as well the payroll costs for R&D related expenses?
Yeah, okay, 3 questions. I start again backwards. So this joint venture with Kudelski is basically an exchange of IP and doing together solutions, and we will also later work together for the services. But it's not a formal, such a strict formal joint venture. It's probably more a corporation, and it is part of our R&D effort, mainly into, at the moment, one platform. Now, perhaps the first question first. This is about capitalization. I mean, how do we check that this capitalized R&D maintains value? Here are several aspects. One is first of all, and this is the good thing about capitalization, with every closing of your accounts, you also do an impairment test. This means you check again whether all what you develop here has a business future and is delivering cash flow to pay back what you have invested. So therefore, we always are aware of whether what we have put into R&D does really make sense. And this is a big advantage over that you just expense the R&D and never ask again whether all the things have made really sense from the financial point of view. I think you have much better, much stronger control and a feedback loop what we do here. And also about the fear that what we do has no longer, or in the future, no value, I'm not concerned at all. And the reason is simply we are continually expanding our knowledge base and we build blocks of IP, blocks of knowledge that are finally making our products. And we are reapplying these blocks with every generation or even type of product we make. For example, we have announced our cellular category 1 chipset. That knowledge from that product went also in the P3 chipset for car-to-car communication. So we have reapplied the IP and are, of course, at the same time putting all that to a next higher level. And this is really what makes the competitiveness of the product, is this knowledge that we have and the capability to serve then also the customer, because these are complex products. You must give support, you must help to solve problems. And of course, these products make problems, it's so complex. And you can only do the job when you know what you do, when you have the core IP. And I'm a lot more concerned about products we make where we use external components. We try to make them better with our own R&D efforts. We put several millions behind that product. And suddenly the supplier decides to make the product disappear or change or whatever the problem. And this R&D effort is normally quickly lost. It's a lot more risky than where we build our own IP. So, and also perhaps the last element is, I mean, when you look at the numbers, you should not forget making a chipset is an effort between 20 and 30 million. It is not a little piece, but it's large investment. This is why you have relatively substantial numbers on the account. Finally, the question was for you. Buying shares.
Yes, you're right, buying shares at lowest price would be the best. But in the past, we bought shares to cover the option program, because at this point in time, the conditional capital was not high enough, and we need to be able to cover if someone exercises his options. The option, it's an employee share option program, is not only a goodie for the employee, it's also in some way part of the remuneration of them. So we must be able to cover that, and that's why we bought the shares in the past. As long as we are able to increase the conditional capital to be used for that, of course we do not need to buy the shares back at the market and keep it on our balance sheet and serve cash or use cash for that. We rather use the cash in further development or in a 70. Yes, we have a strong balance sheet at the moment, yes.
You have to buy back skier units. You bought it back last year.
Yeah, because at this point in time we don't have it. Yeah.
This would be a good opportunity because you need it in the future. You are a shop, and you have big programs, so you will need.
That's right.
I mean, we take your point into consideration, yes, but it's not so easy because you never know what's tomorrow. Yeah. Good. Other questions? If this is not the case, then I thank you very much for attending here this morning, and you are invited for an apéro, and we have also time to talk more. Thank you very much.